Hey you, what up? What up? What up? What up? What up? How are you doing? Boy, it is so good to be here. It's so good to have you here. I am super duper excited that you chose today to hang with me. I don't take it for granted. So thank you so much for being here. Today is the last day of the week. I'm looking forward to the weekend for us to hang and to talk and to just chill together and have some fun. All right. So let's get going actually. Today we are talking about conflict. We are still under the subject of relationships because man, this relationship matter is a long one and you can't just exhaust it just like that. You actually need to take your time and actually talk about it because while our class time would still talk about relationships, but I feel like in this podcast, we have the opportunity to go deep. We have the opportunity to have deep conversations and actually build together. All right, what is conflict? Conflict is direct opposition, a clash, disagreement between people. Conflicts are experienced at work, at home, at social places, at officiating a contest, maybe you can experience conflict and all of that. So, but as long as you're dealing with people, as long as people are dealing with people or making decisions or meeting deadlines or whatever, there will be conflict because we are human beings. We have different backgrounds, we have different actions, we have different pictures and frameworks and possibilities and all of that. I see different four different kinds of conflict, and when I talk about the kind of conflict, I'm going to talk about ways to help to kind of not allow it to escalate because escalated conflict is just bad, it's not right. Escalated conflict is terrible for everybody that is involved in it. So please, no escalation of conflict required or accepted here. It is scary when conflicts escalate. All right, so let's get going. What are the four different types of conflict? Let's go. Number one, we have criticism, and this is verbally attacking personality or character. Verbally attacking personality or character. Like, you're rude, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. Sometimes those cause conflict because the person feels attacked. The person feels like this person is coming after me. This person is not really asking questions about why I'm doing what I'm doing. The person is just at my neck. The person is just on my throat. The person is not cutting me some slack or giving me a break. And so that causes conflict. One of the ways that you can actually curb criticism or the effect of criticism is to talk about your feelings using I statements and express a positive need. For example, you could say, I think you could word that differently instead of saying I think you are rude. You see, if I say I think you could word that differently, it doesn't seem like I'm attacking you. It just feels like I'm expressing the way that your comments made me feel. For example, I could even say further, I felt like that was very confrontational, but we're having a conversation. Could you please word that differently? You see, that's one way for you to deal with conflict instead of going, why would you say that to me? You're a rude person. The next thing you know, you start punching. No, 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 no. That's not necessary. We need to be able to, we need to be able to work out things and be able to work together to see what you want to see. Number two is contempt. Contempt, attacking the sense of self with the intent to insult or abuse. This is very popular with women, especially when we feel threatened by the person. We want to attack them to knock them down a peg, knock them down a peg, knock them down a peg. So instead of doing that, what do you do? Well, instead of attacking them to knock them down a peg, you can build a culture of appreciation by saying things like, "Oh," instead of saying, look at your hair is terrible. You can say, "Oh, your hair is very nice today. Well done. Where did you get it done? Where did you have it made?" You see, all of that, it saves conflict. Because when you come to somebody and be like, "See your big head," no, that's contempt. That's contempt. That's you trying to get the upper hand over them in that relationship, and that is just wrong. That's just terrible and should not be done. Thank you very much. Number three is defensiveness. Sometimes we are very defensive. We begin to victimize ourselves to ward off a perceived attack or reverse the blame. So you're using the shield and you're like, somebody wants to talk to you about maybe um being the fact that you're not married yet, and let's say that it's personal to you, which is, I think it should be personal to you, and so all of a sudden you're defensive against them because you don't want them to talk about that thing. You feel like it's a weak point in your life, and so you attack first before you are attacked. You don't even know if the person wants to say something nice or recommend you to someone. You're just defensive. So one of the ways you can say is do that and get better at it is to take responsibility. When you find that people are trying to confront you about something that you did wrong, instead of or something that is lacking in your life, instead of trying to defend, open yourself up to learn. Remember that we are not the author and finisher of knowledge, and so we don't know it all. We don't have it all figured out, and we can only do better when we learn better. If we have not learned better, we will not do better. And so we must give ourselves that opportunity to do better by learning how to do better. And finally, the fourth one is stonewalling. This is when we withdraw to avoid conflict and convey disapproval from a distance or separate. These are people that are always running away. You don't want to be in the center of the conflict. You don't want to be there. You're just running, 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 running. Running is great, but running also can be dangerous because running has never solved anything. And so it's better that we both sit down and have a conversation than we run away from it. And yes, walk away when things get heated, but that doesn't mean that you will not revisit it at a later time. If you find that things are getting very heated, just walk away, take a breather, take a break, come back to it when emotions are calmer and when everyone is on the same page to talk about it. That's just what to do. Don't get defensive, don't get offended, and don't feel like they're after my life. They're not after your life. They just want you to have a different outcome. So how do we handle conflict? What are the ways that we handle conflict? Number one, don't ignore the conflict. Many times we feel like, oh, if I ignore it, maybe it will go away. It won't go away. What happens is that it piles up, and over time, it becomes so toxic that it becomes almost dangerous for you to be able to continue in that environment. So it's very, very important that we don't ignore, don't sweep it under the rug. It's you can ignore when emotions are high and come back to it at a later time and say, please, can we talk about what happened yesterday? Can we I know that we may have said things that we didn't want to say to each other, whether it's your spouse or your friend or your boss. You have to speak to that conflict. Never ignore conflict because it has the potential of causing a greater rift if it reoccurs again in the future. Ignoring is never a way to deal with things. Number two, set up the right environment to have the conversation. Do not begin to try to deal with an issue when the issue is still fresh on ground. You have to ensure that the atmosphere, the climate is permissible to begin to have that conversation. Because what happens when you now begin to have that conversation in a heated atmosphere is that you both say things that you don't mean, you both say things that you will regret later, and we must understand that words cut deeper than knife. And so when people say the wrong words to us, they have the power and the capacity to destroy us, to limit us, or to even hold us back. So actually, you need to get to that place where that you are creating the right environment and the right atmosphere to have those conversations. Number two, clarify what the issue is. Remember, the person is not the problem, but something has happened that is the problem. It is not the person. So deal with the issue, leave the person. The person is a good person. Deal with the person. Deal with the person. Clarify the issue. State the facts. Don't go attacking and don't go defending. State the issue, clarify what the issue is, and then give. Number four is give the other person an opportunity to talk. Give the other person an opportunity to talk. Don't start personal jibes. Don't put them down. Don't try to make them feel like their feelings are inconsequential. Don't begin to curse, get abusive, or anything like that. And if you notice that they're angered, it's okay to let it sleep at that moment and visit at a much later time when they have had time to process. Because some people, 24 hours is not enough time for them to process what has happened. And so they need a little more time for them to go deeper to the root of what happened and to deal with what has happened. So give the other person an opportunity to talk. Number three, get to the root of the problem. Don't just see the fruit. Many times we have people dealing with the fruit of the problem. For example, you yelled at me. Okay, what led to the yelling? What caused the yelling? At what point is did we get to where maybe I had said something repeatedly and you didn't listen, and then I just yelled out because I felt like stop it, something like that. So what is the root of the problem? We need to deal with the root of the problem. Maybe the person is being think that they're being funny, and then what they're saying is hurtful, what they're saying is has the ability to break or to frustrate and all of that. So you must begin to actually identify the root of the problem. Know why the problem is there. Get to the root of the problem. And then both of you need to learn to pay attention to yourself, be self-aware so that you don't get defensive. Be self-aware so that you don't get defensive. Number next, I would say, is find a middle ground. You may not find a perfect solution, but both of you should bulge and have compromise. Do not compromise where your values are, but you can compromise to maybe agree to disagree, or just decide that, okay, I understand that this is your way of doing things. I will try my best not to cross these lines. However, this is also my way of doing things. So find a common ground. Find a common ground, because compromising is one of the key ways that we resolve conflicts. We find a middle ground so that you can say what you think and I can say what you think without me hurting you or you hurting me. And finally, please choose your battles. Choose your battles. Choose your battles. There are actually some things that you can decide to sweep under the rug. There are actually some things that you can confront heads on. There are actually also some things that you can ensure that you don't allow to happen, or you just kill it before it starts. Sometimes you're like, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry would have killed it. Okay, I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry I acted that way. And that's actually one great advice I have to tell people. See, learn to say I'm sorry, whether you're right or wrong. Learn to say I'm sorry. Something happened to me once when I was in school, and I used to be very proud, and my pastor back then placed me in a leadership position, and because of that I felt I was always right. And then my pastor made me say I'm sorry. Was it 50 times or 100 times? I've forgotten. But he made me say I'm sorry so many times. And by the time I said it like the 15th time, I broke down in tears because I realized that I'm sorry felt like a very hard thing to say. I'm sorry felt like this weight, this big deal. Like, we have to learn to apologize, whether we're right, whether we're wrong, apologize. The other person also has feelings, and you may feel you were justified in your response, but you may have stepped on their toes. You may have talked about things that are sensitive to them and are hurtful to them, and may have reacted in ways that are a little less than they expected where you were concerned. And so you must just learn the art of saying, I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry you felt that way, but your actions also hurt me too. You see, that moment, you're giving like an olive branch. I'm sorry goes a long way to resolve conflict. I'm sorry goes a long way to bring people back together and to just get them to see better possibilities or live differently, or live together better. Because listen, it is not good for man to be alone. We are designed to want to be with people, to want to work with people. We are designed for relationships. We are designed to be able to um, influence and affect people by our actions and our inactions and our decisions and our even quiet decisions and quiet actions. And so it is very, very important that we do not underestimate the power of I'm sorry. What ways do you deal with conflict? Or what ways did I talk about that you did not know about? Share with me in the chat. I would love to read from you. One more time. It's good to see you, and bye for now.